What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Cash Process. I'm your host, AC, with DFS Karma and BetKarma.com, and I have Ben Hostler on tonight. It is Tuesday. We're talking everything, what we did right, what we did wrong last week with our cash game. We'll look into some leverage spots this week. Of course, we're going to talk cash games and some value plays going into week 8. Halfway point is basically almost here this season. I'm looking at the live odds right now at betkarma.com, the odds comparison tool. You can see where all the sports books are already populating the odds. That's a free tool. Check that out. And then at dfskarma.com, you guys know the game by now. You can find all of our content, final thoughts, core plays, access to talking to us in the chat room as well. Speaking of which, of the content, I was looking at a comment from last week, Ben, and somebody said that we didn't have Cooper Kupp in there from the week before. And I went back there and I responded to you. So I do hop in the YouTube comments. Shout out to the YouTube fan, and let them politely know that you did, in fact, have that in your content. All right, Ben, I'm going to start out the gate talking about last week. This was week 7 for me. It felt like week 2. Week 2, I got punched in the face. I got kicked in the nutsack on week 7. I was, I had a $4,500 or something on play in my main cash lineup. I probably brought back 1,000 in heads up. So that shows the importance of playing some heads ups. It's not a silver lining. It's not even a bronze lining. I felt like I had a good lineup. I mean, I had Miles Sanders in there. You ended up, I'll let you talk about that. You pivoted to him. Chuba Hubba was probably a bad play. Looking back at it for me personally. I did play Patty Mahomes, as did you. And you can talk about that too. I have no words. I'm not going to come on here and talk about process and all that. With Mahomes is a great play, okay? Like, shit happens in sports. I wasn't even mad about that. Like, he had 8 fantasy points. I mean, I was behind the ball. However, I did have Cooper Kupp, the dreamy kid that just keeps on dropping 40 points a week. And I gave myself a chance. I had, Chris Godwin in there. I stuck with Komet. At the end of the day, I did not pivot my flex to Henderson, to Mike Evans. I thought about it. You actually strategically and smartly brought that up in the chat room, and I'll go back to you right now. That was the mistake I made. I probably should have just pivoted, which, again, you guys can do these things if you're losing going into the 4 o'clock games, right? You give yourself a shot. I did not pivot Henderson to Mike Evans. You did pivot to Mike Evans. Talk to me about your week. I know it was frustrating a little bit for you as well, but at least you actually made the move to Mike Evans and you gave yourself a shot. It helped bring back some money and heads ups as well for you.
Yeah. I know a lot of times this season, especially, there's a lot of times I've came on here on Tuesday and I've talked about how I think I have gotten unlucky personally. And I do think I've gotten unlucky a few times this season, but nothing, I don't know if I'll ever reach the level of unluckiness in the rest of my DFS career as I did this past Sunday. It's just, you can't make this stuff up. Like, you covered it well. Like, Mahomes, I'm not even mad about that. Like, stuff happens. He had a bad game. It was a great spot. It's Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks of all time already. Like, I don't care that he had a bad game. Like, that happens. So going into the later games, we had the only people I had left were Darrell Henderson and Chris Godwin. Obviously, I'm behind the field because of Mahomes not having a great game. So we went ahead and I swapped to Miles Sanders and Mike Evans. And this shows the importance of late swap, guys. Like, you guys can, like, by that time if you're going to be in position to win or not. And some people in Discord were asking me, they're like, dude, but Godwin and Henderson, like, they have that crazy ceiling combination, and it's like they're going to be so high owned, it doesn't matter because you're not going to pass anyone that has those guys that are going to be so high owned. So we made the pivot, and Mike Evans comes out, scores 3 touchdowns. I'm like easily winning like cash games at this point. Like, I have gone
For the
from,
record,
like,
you literally called it. You said he
yeah,
may
I
have
did.
3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
can't
Okay,
happen.
I had Foster Moreau too. Okay, so we had 3 people left, but I wasn't moving off him because I didn't think he was gonna be crazy owned. But I tagged Discord and I go, hey, I'm moving Henderson and Godwin to Miles Sanders and Mike Evans, and I'm hoping that this is like the Mike Evans 3 touchdown game because he does it all the time. And what happened? He scores 3 touchdowns. I'm like crushing, dude. I'm like easily. I've went from not even close to cashing. I'm crushing, and I'm like, dude, I can't believe I pulled this off. And Miles Sanders, who got hurt on like the first freaking quarter of the
Oh,
game,
that's
even when I get lucky and I get the 3-touchdown Evans game, I get unlucky with my player getting hurt. 9 out of 10 times that swap works and we still win cash. And I don't know. I can't beat this unlucky streak that I'm on, man. It's crazy.
yeah. You and I both couldn't have. I mean, considering the position we were in, we couldn't afford Miles Sanders to get freaking hurt, and it was early too. I
And
mean,
they were feeding him,
again,
man. They were feeding him. And
the way that you
higher
and I both were
stakes,
trailing,
dude, he was like 35% owned higher stakes. And then like in the
yeah,
lower dollar
yeah,
stuff, he was like barely owned. I mean, it was such a
yeah.
good play.
I saw that. I loved it. You in the cash process last week, I said I'm probably playing Miles Sanders, and I did. I stuck with it. And again, I got punched in the mouth week 2. I got kicked in the nuts week 7. However, every other week this week or for this calendar year for me has been bountiful, right? So like, we're gonna lose, guys. Like, if you're listening to podcasts and people chirping out there, nobody wins all the time. I mean, this is life. This is sports. This is gambling, right? DFS. So we bounce back. And that's why we're on here. It's Motivational Tuesday, Ben. Like we are smiling ear to ear. All right, let's get back at it. Again, I always want to shout out my YouTube family. Drop a comment in there. Let us know if you are enjoying the projections portal. For those looking at the screen right now, Ben has this up. We're looking at the quarterback. That's where we're going to start this week. We've put a ton of work into the projections portal for all sports, but obviously we're talking NFL. And the one thing that I really want to stress, at least on this podcast, again, shout out if you guys can give us a thumbs up. We totally appreciate it. Trying to get over 100 every single week for this podcast. I love to look at the karma value. This helps me build my lineups. It can help you build yours, and you can apply this to all sports. Of course, there's all kinds of other data in here we can talk about for days. But let me start this one, Ben, and then you can start at running back. I don't know. I think this week I'll probably go right back to looking at Jalen Hurts. I mean, he pops right now as our number 1 karma value projection of the week and our number 2 karma rank player of the week. Josh Allen will probably be popular. I did want to say that somebody else I'm looking into, Ben, that's cheaper. And again, I'm going to go right to you immediately. I like Carson Wentz this week. I mean, maybe that's a bad take. Maybe that's just me still filtering bad thoughts, but I really am going to go back to the well. That's a reason why I played Mahomes. It wasn't just because of Mahomes. I mean, that secondary is just completely obliterated right now. I'm looking at the Vegas totals at Bet Karma right now, and that is the one game that is jumping through the screen, moving up from the key level 47.5 all the way through 41 to 51, excuse me. So there's a lot of action coming in that game. Man, I like Carson Wentz. It might be a bad take, Ben, but I'll ping it back to you. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I actually think you covered that pretty well. Obviously, I have it sorted by karma value on the screen. You can see Jalen Hurts number 1, but I also think an important factor, even in cash games, is looking at the ceiling of your quarterback. And if you sort by ceiling, you'll see 2 of the
Yeah.
top 3 are Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. And I think that's probably the top 2 as of Tuesday for cash games. Allen, a little bit more expensive, but he has a good history against Miami the last few seasons. 8,100 still feels a little bit cheap for someone with the type of ceiling that he has. And then Hurts. I think this is going to be a conversation as the week goes on. I think 7,200 is too cheap for him. This guy, all he does is like hit 21 plus DraftKings points, right? Like he's done it in every start that he's made and actually played the entire game. 24 last week after a bad first half. And I tweeted today, I don't remember who tweeted, but they tweeted out like his weekly finishes as quarterback for fantasy. And it's like, dude, if he actually could score fantasy points in the first half, it would be insane what he would do because he does everything in the second half and still just crushes. I will say the only hole I think you can poke in Hurts, and we'll see like as the week goes on. I don't expect this to happen against Detroit because it's such a good matchup for fantasy purposes. But I mean, he's like as the season goes on, I think he's a legit like benching risk. So I don't know. Like the longer we get into the season, the more I want to trust him for cash tournaments. He's fine, but like I do think at some point he's probably going to be benched. And that is a risk for cash. But I don't think that's going to happen this week. It's still early. They're playing a bad team. But I do think him and Allen are probably the top 2 as of right now.
Telling you, Carson Wentz GPP if we don't go there in cash. I really like that.
Yeah,
play.
I
Right,
actually think he sticks out like cheap wise. Like he's probably He's probably my favorite, like under 6K. So I actually don't think that's a terrible take.
Let's go to running back. I'll let you start. There's a couple guys just obliterating the karma value. Let's just say that. And I think they're going to be mega popular, mega chalk between DeAndre Swift and Darrell Henderson. What do you say, you?
Yeah, so I'm pulling running back up right now. I'll sort by value, but I think the conversation, once again we came on this same video last week and we talked about what to do with Derrick Henry. Are you going to play Derrick Henry? And I think that the cash game conversation starts with him again. I mean, they moved him down. Like, he didn't have a bad game, right? I mean, he got 86 yards. He just didn't find the end zone, which, when you score 6 touchdowns in 2 games, it's not shocking that he didn't find the end zone for one game. He did throw a touchdown, but he scored 16 DraftKings points, which I think is pretty close to, you're getting down to the floor, right, of what you would expect from him, even in a bad game. And they moved him down to 8,900. So I think I definitely think the conversation starts with him. But when you pull up the value, yeah, I mean Swift and Henderson, those guys are gonna pop. I probably wasn't on Swift enough last week. I thought he was a good tournament play, but I mean it was just tough for me to trust like a 15-point underdog in cash games. But he's so good and he gets so many targets, like it just doesn't matter sometimes. So I think both those guys are a good play. And then a popular question Sam and I were getting on the live stream was, can you play Cooper Kupp and Henderson together in cash games?
I've done it for 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, and I did it 2 weeks ago. Like our answer was obviously yes. You can't do that. So I don't have any issues with that, but I do think that's probably the top two. You have Henry at the top. Outside
it
of
gets
those
muddy
guys,
after that, though.
it
Let's be
does.
real.
It does.
I mean, the strategic super smart play is probably going back to your boy Jonathan Taylor. I feel like at home in a dome, we talked about the total. I guarantee he's not going to be highly owned in cash games. He just won't be. But when I look at Jonathan Taylor at 7,200, I just see Derrick Henry for a lot cheaper. I'm not saying they're the same player, but that's the value that I'm looking at on this given week, especially in the same dang game. It's muddy though, Ben. I mean, it's just funny. Like, no one's going to play Alvin Kamara this week. I mean, are they? Like, they're not in cash, but you got to think about these names, right? As you make your couple GPPs throughout the week. Like, Alvin Kamara is like the easiest GPP play of the entire slate, but I feel like he's not going to be owned because there's all these other guys kind of up top.
That's actually a good point. Dude, he's gotten all the work since Tony Jones Jr. went down behind him, which is his backup. He's gotten all the work. Jameis is throwing to him, right? He got 10 balls in that Monday night game. Obviously, it's like the world's toughest on the ground matchup against Tampa. But I mean,
Herbert just dropped like 100 last week.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and it's like
Kamara's gonna get all his receptions. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be an amazing tournament play.
It's still a good matchup, and I mean,
he better be in the final thoughts in pink, Ben. By the way,
dude, I mean, he might be in orange or green. I mean, Tampa's given up the third most catches to running backs.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a bad spot. He's only 8,700. That's probably too cheap. I might prefer him to Henry. That might be a bad take, but I actually might just prefer Kamara, to be honest.
So here's a couple gun-to-head questions, right? I feel like this is why the slate gets murky, and we're talking about probably the flex, right? I mean, this is why we said a few weeks ago, like, it's not a bad idea to start playing more and more wide receivers. Alex Codlins could get some traction industry-wide. I mean, we're projecting him fairly well at 1.67 with the karma value, 5,300. I mean, Jacksonville's atrocious on the ground. Kenny Gainwell, I think probably might be a popular flex play this week. I mean, I love him in my season-long league. You know, he's had some interesting weeks. In 5K, if we get some, I don't think we even need news, Ben. I think we just need to understand that Kenny Gainwell is going to be a good play this week. I think even in cash games, right?
Yeah, the other two guys I was going to bring up, one was Gainwell. Obviously, Sanders is not going to play. No way. Gainwell's good, man. He has juice. This is someone that they were giving work. I always bring it back, even though Sanders kind of iced him 2 weeks ago, and that's why we liked Sanders last Sunday. I always bring it back to, this is a rookie. They gave him red zone touches week 1, their first game of the season against Atlanta. He was getting red zone touches. So You know that they
He,
trust him. Detroit, that's like one of the best matchups on the ground, right? So
yeah.
definitely going to be in play. And then,
I look at Kenny Gainwell as like a poor man's Alvin Kamara this week. You know, he's not going to get 18 rushes or 15, but he'll get 10 to 12, and then he'll get probably 8 targets if he's
yeah,
the guy. You know, if he's
he can catch the ball. So I do think that's a great call. He'll be owned probably for sure, but no issues there. And then maybe not for cash, but dude, Cordell Patterson, I think the time has come to trust him, dude. I
yeah,
know, like, say whatever you want about the Carolina defense, but I mean, this guy he's went from like barely on the field the first week and like just getting fluke touchdowns. He's like dominating the work, right? 14 carries in back-to-back games, 9 targets and 5 targets in those 2 games. I mean, he's getting all the work, and I don't know if he's going to be owned. That's a weird price point, right? 6,200. It's kind of in between what you would call mid-tier and then like the higher tier guys. So I think the time might this might be the week for me to get on Patterson. I really haven't been on him.
I do remember you giving me some shade last week when I brought him up, but it's all good.
Yeah,
Now he's
I'm a
ascended
believer
to
now.
both of
I'm a
our
believer now.
portfolios. All right, let's go to wide receiver. As you click wide receiver, again, I'm going to ask the YouTube family one more time. Please give us a thumbs up if you enjoy this content. We truly appreciate it, especially checking out all the projections portal. This stuff is premium. I mean, you can't access this site on the website for free anymore. So, you know, again, you can hop over to dfskarma.com, go to subscriptions. You can access this, the core plays, our final thoughts we mentioned, and some of the other premium products at your disclosure for any sport. All right, Ben. If you sort by karma value, holy crap, Brandon Cooks. Like, I mean, we're not getting on this podcast to really hype up Brandon Cooks, but I mean, again, we like to stick with the math. Brandon Cooks did not, you know, perform last week, so to speak. I mean, clearly the projections portal absolutely loves his price, and I gotta say, I really dig it, and this is why. My initial build right now, obviously, everybody and their brothers playing Darrell Henderson, and if you're not playing Darrell Henderson, even though he didn't perform for you last week at 6,500 in this matchup, in week 8, you should probably quit DFS. I hope you would agree with that, Ben. Joking aside, I think I'm going to play Cooper Kupp. I know the decision, like you said earlier, is going to be Derrick Henry, and I was going to interject, but I thought we'd wait. So, yes, the big decision this week will be Henry or Cooper Kupp. Yeah, I mean, I really don't see anybody playing both, and if you do, I don't like that lineup. So I'm, as of now, going to play Cooper Kupp with Henderson. There's just too much juice flowing with that team. Kupp's getting all the targets, the market share. We know this, but I love the bring back with Brandon Cooks, and I feel like I made an immortal mistake last week, Ben, and I was kicking myself after because it's a mistake I usually never make. In fact, I generally make these plays quite often in my DFS career. I don't know what the hell got into me, and I didn't see the DeAndre Swift. I don't understand why I didn't play him when I played 2 Rams in my lineup last week. Like that was just a bad end game by me. And I don't think I'm going to make that mistake this week. I mean, if I'm going with this Kupp Henderson combo, I mean, shit, I might as well bring it back with Brandon Cooks, right? Get the game flow going. The total is actually rising. Again, I'm checking out betkarma.com. It is rising a little bit, which I like to see. So enough about me talking about a couple of the plays there, Ben, but go ahead and I want to hear the rest of your outlook at the wide receiver slate.
Yeah, Cup slam dunk play. Obviously, I do want to point out Jamar Chase is now 7,500. I'm happy that we have been on him all season.
Yes.
We can victory lap that. Matt,
God,
actually,
I would love to hear the bite of you and I week 1 with
yeah,
Chase when he was like 5,200. Seriously, we said this is a stock price. No matter what he does this week, you play him. We said the same thing week 2. Okay, go ahead.
yeah. Matt, who actually provides cores for subscribers, he actually had Jamar Chase really low owned in his core last week. So shout out to him. That was a great play looking back. But yeah, if we move down receiver here, I mean, outside of the top, which is like the Cup range, because he's going to dominate the ownership and the projection up there. Cooks, who we've sorted by values, is a great play. It's just not someone I know if I really want to play in cash. But I mean, it makes sense. He gets so much work. He's gonna pop like this in projections like pretty much every week. The next 2 guys for cash, I think Michael Pittman Jr. at 5,300, T Higgins at 5,200. I think T.Y. Hilton's gonna be back for the Colts, but dude, it's clear that Wentz likes Pittman. I mean, they've
Yeah,
clearly been on the
he's a
same
baller.
page. Yeah, I mean, that was like that monsoon game, dude, Sunday night, and he's still. I know he got lucky at the end with that touchdown, but he had like 70 yards before that. It's very clear he's Wentz's preferred target. And then T. Higgins, I mean, this guy hasn't scored since week 2, but just don't give up. I mean, coming into last week, obviously Chase went ham, but Higgins was actually leading the team in target percentage when all 3 receivers were healthy coming into last week. He got 15 targets in that game against Baltimore. The Jets secondary is atrocious. So
Yeah,
I think T. Higgins, once again, 5,200 is a good cash game play on DraftKings.
that's a good call. I mean, I kind of overlooked that until you just brought him up, but I feel like I've been kind of on him, kind of off him. But I like that price tag. I like the zig and zag. I'm not saying people will go back to Chase, but this price is getting to a very reasonable, probably where it should be, at least for right now. Um, Pittman, I love if there's no T.Y. Hilton. I mean, that's why I mentioned Carson Wentz earlier. Definitely on
Yeah.
that. I think DJ Moore, we're just due for an eruption week. That's just almost a gut call, but Atlanta can't stop the pass anyways. I mean, I love DJ Moore this week. If it's not in cash games, then he will be one of my main tournament rosters. I'll go heavy overweight on him this week in MME. Anyone else that you're kind of looking at? I mean, there's always the cheap guys, right? We need the cheapos. Who is our Bateman of the week? Who's our cheapy guy?
Yeah. Not super cheap, right below the guys we just talked about, but Jerry Jeudy is going to be back, and he is 49, I think, 4,900 on DraftKings. So obviously, smash matchup against Washington, right? They give up the most points to receivers. Like, this is the team that we have been targeting with wide receivers and quarterbacks. He's going to be back. I
Is
think
he
he's a
full
good.
go though? Is going to be the question, right?
Yeah, I think he's good because he got activated like a while ago. It wasn't like he's gonna get
Yeah.
like he's been ready to come back. I think they've just been taking their time with him. We'll see what they say after practice and stuff this week, but he should be back 4,900. Really good play, and I think that like we're getting close to Teddy Bridgewater getting benched for Denver, and I think
Yeah.
that's good for Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. Maybe not from a real life perspective, but Drew Lock is going to come in and just sling the ball around. And it's such a good matchup. So I think Jerry Judy's a good play. Outside of that, I mean, I'm scrolling down. I don't see anyone overly cheap. Um, yeah, I don't know if there's any. I don't know if there's a Bateman of the week this week. But we're
I
gonna get
kind of like
value
that
though.
though.
Like we always get
Yeah, I
value, you
like
know.
that. I don't like when everyone's playing the same cheap guy, including myself. Like I think it makes it, obviously a lot easier that way. I was just looking. We'll go to tight end right now, but man, it's like you need a Tampa Bay somehow every week. I feel like, and my Tampa Bay take is Antonio Brown this week. But dude, I don't know. Mike Evans is just a god, and I mean he can do whatever I guess against Lattimore. But watching that game against Seattle, I feel like the only efficient route is either Godwin getting more snaps in the slot, but it seems to be AB, man, when he's out there. So I like AB this week. I mean, 6,100 is like fair price, so it's not like he's cheap. Just my 2 cents in Tampa Bay. But
No,
all right, let's
yeah.
go to tight end.
Whenever everyone's healthy, that's kind of my lean is to use AB. But I don't know. It's tough. It's hard not to just double stack Brady every week at this point. I mean, I completely agree with that because they just throw the ball so much.
All right, tight end's been interesting to say the least the last few weeks. There's been some Ricky Seals weeks. There's been some other guys, the Morneaus of the world. I don't know, man. It's the usual for me. I'm just gonna name a name. I'm looking at Karma Value. I just sorted it, and this guy Dan Arnold. I mean, yes, I know him, but wow,
This
why is he
guy.
projecting so well though? For real, 2,800. I mean, is he actually? I mean, I know he's had some targets, but would you play him? I mean, I'm just going off the math here. Karma Value. He's our third best value play of the week.
Yeah. So Arnold got traded to Jacksonville. I think he has. I
Ooh,
think
it's
like
against Seattle too.
yeah. I think he has like 8 and 5 targets the last 2 weeks. So I mean, I don't hate it. That's a good punt. We like to save at tight end. So you're never gonna like not convince me to play like the cheap tight end. So I'm
What
completely
are you thinking? You
completely fine.
going to Ricky Seals at 38?
Yeah, I actually like. Oh man, they moved him up. I was gonna say I like Pat Fryermuth, but they moved his price up so much, dude. 3,600. Yeah, I would prefer Ricky Seals Jones if I was going in that mid threes range. Um,
If you got the money, Dallas Goddard. I mean, at 4,700 against Detroit seems like a very safe play.
Yeah, I mean,
Nonetheless, so.
I mean, 4,700. That's fine. I love that Kyle Pitts is the most expensive tight end now, like because Kelsey's not on the slate, Waller's not on the slate. I think that's
Yeah.
funny, but yeah, yeah. I guess you might want to talk me into some Dan Arnold because I don't like no one in the low threes. I like Cole Kmet. I'd rather probably
Yeah.
play save
They're
and
all
play
going to
Dan
get 8
Arnold.
points. Let's be real. Let's just call a spade a spade. They're all going to get 7.4 points, and it's just going to be atrocious. I mean, I'd rather have the cheap guy and build into the flex and have a better flex play. That's generally how I like to construct my lineups, and I know you do as well. Let's just finish at defense real quick. My defense of the week is Washington, and I'm guessing they're going to be mega popular at 2,100 against a broken down Teddy Bridgewater. Just a hunch. They could be quite popular.
Yeah, I mean Denver is bottom 6 or 7 in sack rate allowed, so it's a good matchup for Washington's pass rush, like 2,100. That's a great call. That'll be a popular play. If you want to get weird, I don't know. Is there anyone you want to get weird with? I would say probably Chicago, or Atlanta. That would probably be my 2 picks if I want to get off the board.
Yeah,
You want to play the Browns. That's who you want to play. 3K.
Honestly,
Browns at home
at
against Pittsburgh. That's your pick.
Hey, man, the Browns got a sick defense anchored by our homeboy himself. It's just our coaching, man. Don't even get me started on the Browns in 30-minute mark of our podcast because I might need a whole nother 30 minutes. But I digress. Again, we appreciate y'all. If you can, hop into our Discord, access the products. We've got great stuff going on for NBA too, guys. NBA just started. The same things we do for NFL and MLB, we're doing for NBA. So we appreciate your support if you can. Other than that, Ben, next week, hopefully, we come off a better week and we'll keep moving forward. We got several weeks left to go, guys. So good luck this weekend. We'll talk to you next week.